After writing 2 transformational books myself and supporting many other beings to do the same, I've become enthralled by the deep and mysterious magic that's activated when we choose to say yes to ourselves and commit to the book writing journey. Of course, we want to inspire change and new perspectives in our readers, but the transformation that happens as an author, both throughout the writing process and by actually releasing your book into the world, is surprisingly potent. I know I've been blindsided in the most disruptive and delicious ways by some of the changes my books have brought into my life. Writing a book is like casting a spell. Although we can never be completely sure what's going to be unleashed during the process, we choose to do it anyway. This Unbound one is a heroic journey. Each book has the potential to be a magical portal, a doorway to a new world, both for you and your reader. Each book has a very specific medicine that it's here to share with us. And each book gives us the opportunity to alchemize the magnificent imperfection of our experience into gold. The truth is that anyone can write a book. We could all get a few thousand words down and put them together. But what fascinates me is what happens when we allow the book writing process to go deeper. When we say, fuck it, get naked and dive way down beneath the surface. Letting go of the shoulds and any need to be acceptable, sensible, or approved of. What fascinates me is what happens when we make ourselves fully available to being transformed by the very act of writing a book. This is Unbound Writing, and this is the process we'll be exploring together here in the Unbound Writers Club. I'm Nicola, author and founder of the Unbound Press, and I help magical beings to write the transformational book they're really here to write at this time. I'm your guide here in the Unbound Writers Club, and the aim of this podcast is to help you to feel supported, encouraged, activated as you embark on your book writing journey. Whether you're a first-time author or have many books out in the world, my hope is that you will find something here to inspire you. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Unbound Writers Club. Today I am joined by Patricia Langton, who is author of our latest release at the Unbound Press, Stones in My Bones, mystical connections with the ancient stories of Rockabilly. So this is such a magical book, Stones in My Bones. It's essentially a book about connection to place, to ancient landscape, to our ancestors, and ultimately to ourselves. So for Trish, following the discovery of several different mythological stories connected with a local island near where she lives in Ireland, Rockabilly, she embarked on a journey of research that led her to see the importance of how ancient mythology can impact modern life. And this book shows how timeless these ancient stories are and the power they have to make sense of contemporary life. And in this conversation, we talk about how initially Trish started to write this book in a particular way, but then it became very clear that her stories were integral to the book. So she went on this whole journey of kind of weaving her own stories into these ancient mythological stories about Rockabilly. So ever since I first connected with Trish, it's just been so fascinating for me. I think every time she's been on a call in the Unbound Writing Mastermind, we get to discover something different about like her local landscape and the myths surrounding it and the different beings who are part of it. Like, I'm so excited for this book to get to make its way into the world now. And I'm very excited to introduce you to Trish. Yeah, we always have such rich conversations. So let's do that right now. So Trish, Welcome to the Unbound Writers Club.
Oh, hello, Nicola. It's so beautiful to be here with you. I never thought I'd see this day, and it's really, really special.
It
Thanks.
it is special. It is special, and I am, as ever, really excited to see what wants to come through in our conversation. But I always begin these conversations with the same question, which is, what does it mean to you to be an unbound writer?
Well, yeah, it's a question. It's a difficult one, but it's an easy one. I just feel writing before was stifling, and this is just the total opposite of feeling stifled in a writing practice. So stifled, get that word stifle was there for me, and then it's like you're writing from your heart space rather than your head space a lot of the time. It's writing coming from a different place, and you're not kind of filtering it through the logical minds. That's great because that frees you up for everything else to come through, and it did for me. So it's expansive rather than, yeah, the opposite of expansive. So it's a real expansive experience. I also feel there's a authenticity about it. So you're writing from a real authentic place within yourself. And I felt that, like, writing before, I was thinking, is that really what I want to say? Yet when you're writing in an unbound way, you are definitely doing that, that authenticity. It's also a very feminine way of writing because that idea of being logical, linear. The feminine way is very different. You can kind of come in and out in waves and spirals. I know the spiral is a huge thing. It's even your logo. So I would say, yes, soul-based writing. So freeing, expansive, heart-based,
Gorgeous.
just beautiful.
All of that good stuff, all of that good stuff. And as you were speaking there, Trish, I mean, I remember actually when you first, I think you sent me a message on Facebook, and it was probably back maybe towards the end of 2021 or early 2022 when we first connected. And had you been writing your book for a while then? You were in the process of writing Stones in My Book,
Yes.
weren't you? Yeah.
I was. Yeah, it was a different title. I think it was something about, the island that I discovered. So basically, I discovered all these ancient myths and stories and legends connected with a local stone monument where I live. And yeah, I had read Sharon Blackie's book, If Women Rose Rooted, and she was talking about, your connection with landscape,
Mm.
finding that soul place that you were supposed to be. And that really struck a chord with me. So after I began to think about this, I found out all this amazing information about this local stone monument out in the sea that I had never heard any of it before. So I began to pull pieces together about it, and I had it all there, and I just thought, oh, this is crap. It felt like flat. It felt just informational, and there was something pushing or pulling me to kind of write in a different way. And what am I supposed to be doing here? It was quite frustrating because I knew the book, if it was going to be a book, wasn't just about the factual information. So our family has a holiday home up in the mountains about an hour away, and I went up and I sat there and I sat on my laptop and I looked at everything and I just burst into tears. I said, oh, I was just ready to press the delete button on it. And this message came through to say, your story is the story of Rockabill. Tell your story through the story of Rockabill. And I thought, what? What's that? What does that mean? And, it definitely was a source, a creative source, that sort of that voice. And I thought, And then I began to think about the different stories that were there that I had already identified. And then just these events in my life started to kind of come in. I was going, all right, maybe I could say this about that and this about that. And then I started to sort of do that. Too. But there was still something, I was going, how am I going to really do this that will make it sound? I don't know. I was just looking for a way of writing that was me. And I was online looking for all of these books. I was going, no, and I bought some books. But then I saw this Unbound Writing by Nicola and I bought it online. And no, this is really funny. When I opened the back cover and saw your picture, something leaped. This is so true in my soul, and thought, this woman, I want her to be my best friend. Something happened, and I just thought, this is the book. this is what I'm supposed to do. I read it and I felt I've come home.
Oh,
This is the way I have to write the book. This is the way I'm going to write the book. And then, of course, I signed up for the container, the writing container, the
it was
10
the incubator, the Unbound book
incubator.
incubator, wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
knew it was something to do with babies, containers, incubators. Yeah, so and that sort of that was the beginning of this book. It was
Oh,
so in a way it didn't begin in a way with coming to you. There was already this story, there was already all of this stuff. It was about how do I put my story into it, and I had identified that I was to put it in. But when I joined the Unbound writing group, sisterhood, womanhood, whatever, that's what opened the book up to me. It really sort of came alive for me then, and yeah,
yeah.
here
Oh,
we are today.
oh, I know. Oh, I didn't know that about when you opened Unbound Writing and felt that kind of sense of connect. That's so lovely.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just, the way you just know,
Yeah.
you don't know why, just something clicks and you think this is the way I'm going to have to write it. And I was just so happy I
Yeah.
found it.
Yeah, exactly. And when and like you say, the way the message came through to you so clearly about like the story of Rockabill is your
Mm,
story, and to include your like elements of your story in the book,
yes.
which like I know this can come up for so many like women in particular, that we can shy away from sharing our own stories, or have these kind of beliefs that, oh well, who's going to want to read about my story?
Yes.
So what was that process like for you, Trish?
Yeah, I did go through some quite I call it traumatic, but just this fear rising up within me. I remember the morning I had kind of, I was going to press the button to sort of accept your publishing package. Just this huge sort of fear going through your body around it. I think it's an ancient fear. I do feel it's something about, speaking your truth, speaking from the heart, and how women, there was a time when, you suffered because of it.
Mm.
So I think that was why that fear had come. But then it's always followed by a little bit of courage. I've always found that in my own life. Like, even though I feel scared, I'm going to do it. The other better, more wise voice sort of gets a little bit louder than the fear. Sometimes you can feel it in your body. Sometimes it's, oh, I can't do this. So, it's there, and it was very, very strong for me. But I just said, no, I'm going for it. And yeah, and it can come up in different ways, as we know. Like I've been here with you for a year now, and through the mastermind and with all the other women, it's come up in various different ways. And you always kind of, every time you say, "Oh, what about the voice?" and "What about me revealing parts of myself that I might feel a little bit scared to do?" And yet, when it is shared, and when we do share, something amazing happens. It's like one of the women who read my book, and she contacted me and said, when I read that story, Trish, that really sparked something in me. And I just thought, wow, that's exactly what I want. What I want to happen. That in the revealing of your own story, it allows others to do that too. And yeah, it is sort of transformational and an alchemical process. It is a bit magical. I know that's one of your favorite words, Nicola, and I love it. And it is like magic. It is like putting all the things into this little mix, and what comes out of it is just, yeah, it is magic. And though I might kind of critically in my head look at a piece and go, oh, don't know, and even still looking at it and going, oh, I should have said that, and maybe I could have included this, da 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 da. But as our darling Mariah, one of the ladies here, says, it's flawsome. I
Yeah.
love that word.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic.
It is. It is. It's a great word.
And it feels like, I mean, what I love about your book, Trish, is that like you're writing about the landscape, like where on your doorstep, like where you live, and it feels like the land and the stones and Rockabill wanted like clearly wanted your story to be an
Yes.
integral part of how like this information is shared. That's just come through so strongly.
Very much so, Nicola, because it is two small rock islands out in the sea, and it's known for having a lighthouse on it, which is
Mm,
interesting. The lights is there all the time, and then it's a bird sanctuary also, and really. That's all kind of anybody ever has known about it, I suppose, to date. But when I uncovered or rediscovered, really, because there were other people who have written a little bit about these stories, I kind of, oh my gosh, there's a couple of pieces together that all sort of fit, and yeah, it was like a bit of a calling for me, for
mm,
sure. It was like the voice of was saying, tell the story. It's not dead. It's not, we need you to tell the story." And I did have that kind of constant sense of this is the right thing to do. And, that these ancient stories are having such a contemporary feel, really, that some story that was written, could be 4 or 5 thousand years ago, or the stories of the major
mm.
mythological ones can kind of, reflect what goes on in our lives today. And I feel that the book kind of shows that in a way through me telling my story. Yeah, it was definitely tell our story. And then, of course, part of it was the voices. I call them other voices. Here in Ireland, there's a program on TV and it's called Other Voices. And it's a
Mm.
music program of all people singing. But there were definitely other voices coming through the book. And I think, it links in what I said earlier about that expansion. When you expand out your heart space, your soul space to the writing, that those other voices can make themselves known, and you bring that in, and I think that creates the magic too. And obviously, because of our Irish mythology, it was the voices of the ancient Irish Tuatha Danann that were there on the island that came through for me. And I think that chapter for me is probably the most. I'm kind of scared about it most. Not scared, but just sort of what people will think. And yet, here in Ireland, there is a huge, huge reverence for the fairy people, the two hooded and the she beings. So, I'm hoping that people will pick up on that, and now it'll be known. The story of this kind of unknown story will be revealed. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's just so exciting that this book is actually going to be making its way into the world. And, you were talking about that particular chapter, and we had a conversation, I remember, with the manuscript around that, like whether to include, you're talking about other voices. And
Yeah.
I guess it could be described as channeling. And it's like, well, should I include this? And what was it like to make that decision to include those aspects of the book?
Yeah, I decided, originally each sort of section or chapter was going to start with something like Ori, remember, reignite,
Yeah.
and that was going to be my structure at one point. And then it landed in this idea of moving the story through with the elements. And it turned out that it worked really well there because there was stories around water, there was stories around the sun, there was stories around the air, which is the element altitude to Dannon, and then spirit. Obviously, that's my own spiritual journey at the end. So it started to have this kind of flow and passion around the elemental world. So when it came to the one about the air, I literally was talking about this story of Aid, a short little story I found about that there was this she mansion, or a Sith, I think it's Scottish, Sith,
Mm.
on Roundabout. I thought, oh my God, that's the home of the two hooded Dannon. And again, the hairs were standing on my arms and the back of my thing, and head or wherever. And it was then when I started to write that, all of this really wise words from, I just felt it was, I was getting names of different beings and whatever. And I kind of thought to myself, I have to. I have to write this down. I have to kind of share this information because, if it was my own linear logical mind there probably would have been loads of mistakes because every time I wrote, I'd have to go back over and be loads of mistakes. But when this is really interesting, Nicola. When this channeled writing was coming through, there was nothing, no mistakes, no. It was just, and it flowed, and I was going, God, I wish I could write like this all the time. But yeah, and it's I talk about channeling, and I'm very kind of practical person too, and I know we create from this, in my belief system anyway, this creative spark that's in us all, in our soul. It's from wherever we all originate from, and that there are different elements of life, and I suppose the she beings are etheric. It's said that they're in the etheric field, and they can be small little kind of like elementals, like fairies and things like that. But the she beings, I think, are kind of nearly probably the nearest to the human element of it, and I think that they are in, different countries as well. I do mention that man, John Matthews, and there's a couple of writers who've kind of rediscovered them really in other countries. So they seem to be wanting to make a comeback and be heard, and they're in these protected kind of spaces like out in the sea and in mounds. And it's like that the messages for me, I just feel like they're telling us to kind of protect Mother Earth, or we have to sort of start to look at the way we're treating the planet. And it's interesting that it's coming through the rock or through the stone element for me. I'm 61. I mean, I was supposed to write the book for my 60th birthday, so I'm only not even a year and a half late. But I'm coming into my crone, what they call crone years, or crone actually means crown, which is sort of high up there, yeah. But the Irish crone, or the it's called a caliach, and she is like, her element is stone, so it's like a message from this ancient Irish being of, you have to tell your story. And there was a thing, there was something about in your crone years, that this idea of sharing your wisdom with the world, and I felt that was really, oh my God, when I read that, I thought, yeah, it's time for me. This is why it's happening now, because I did say in the book, why didn't it happen 30 years ago when I had loads of energy and I wasn't ill and I did have all this thing? And I thought, no, it wouldn't have been the time. I wouldn't have had all the experiences I had, and it wouldn't have worked. So there's certainly something around that. Maybe when we get to a certain age, Nicola, we don't care. We're just going to do it.
Exactly. Like, the stuff comes up, like there can be fears and doubts, but like there's something, like there's that big stone crone energy that just helps us to move through it. I've just got this sense of like all of these beings celebrating. Like, as we're recording this, your book launch is on Thursday, and I'm flying over to Ireland to be with you. I'm so excited.
I'm so happy to see you. I'm going to kind of drive you around and show you where the island is, and it'll be lovely to have you there. I have to say, I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person. And yeah, I want it to be a celebration. And also, I've invited people from around where I live, not necessarily personally to me, because I'd love to share this. Apart from the piece I might do with women around the elements, and that going forward, I could see some lovely work coming out of it. I really just want to share these beautiful ancient stories that are kind of long gone back into the community where we live, and people will know about them. So that's a piece too that I'm really excited about sharing.
Yeah, it feels really important. And as you're saying that, Trish, I'm imagining like there are these stories attached to every piece of land,
Yes.
and for us to honor the land that we live on, or the land that we find ourselves on, and to discover the stories and connect with the land in a different way, just feels, there's just something so beautiful and powerful about that. So hopefully your book might spark that off, like as Sharon Blackie's book did for you. This book will hopefully do that for others who
Yeah. And there's another man, Anthony Murphy. He runs a site called Mythical Ireland, and he was the one that discovered the winter solstice sunrise alignment that was on Rockabill between these two stones. So, his work and Sharon's work really kind of inspired me to write. I wouldn't have been able to if they hadn't have kind of written their work. So it is always about finding other books and pulling your piece together. But I think what you said there about spreading that land, like there are loads of if you like, mythical stories that are so popular and famous. There'd be the Merlin stories in the UK, there'd be our stories, all the New Grange, all the heavy hitters. But as you say, Nicola, in each area there may be these wonderful stories connected to the landscape that people are not aware of, that haven't really been come to light. So yeah, it will be lovely to do that, and so to make them available to people. And I kind of have this lovely vision of, even in the local schools, the children being told the stories and that they can keep them alive again. Because it was two children initially who talked about them, one in Skerries and one up the road a couple of kilometres in Balbriggan, who talked about these myths, and that's where I found some of. Oh my God, they were recorded, but kind of have been lost in the mists of time. So it's time to bring them back.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. I mean, how are you feeling now, Trish, now that the book is about to make its way into the world? How is that for you?
Yeah, I feel a mixture of excitement, I suppose, nervousness about how it's going to land with people. But I really am just trying to get into a flow with it, kind of get caught up in, oh, what will people think and how is that going to land with people? Because I do feel, Nicola, it will land at different levels. One of my oldest friends said that to me. Some people will be interested in the mythology, some people will be interested in your story, and it'll go, that's what will happen. You don't really have any control over what
Yeah.
other people, how they'll kind of respond. So, but I suppose being an Irish woman of a certain age, you're always, I wonder how that's going to. So the one side of you is having this, and then the other one is kind of saying, "This is, I'm just going to let it go out and take legs, and hopefully be lovely if it was sort of some of the stories." Because I even thought it'd make a fabulous novel.
Yeah.
You could tie all those pieces together and make a fabulous novel out of it. Or yeah, so it'll be really interesting that way. So I am very excited, and I just, as I said to you, I just earlier, I'd love it to be just a celebration, a celebratory kind of atmosphere, and yeah, so excited but nervous.
Yeah, I get it. I get it completely. All of the feelings. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine this as, I don't know, some kind of TV series as well. Let's
Oh, I don't
why not?
know. Yeah, well, yeah, somebody said that to me earlier on. When is the second book going to come out? And I was going, oh God. Like, I found it, I do say in the end, I said, well, this is Patricia's first book, which for her is a lifelong dream now fulfilled. And in a way, I dedicate the book to my own mother, Christine, who was a writer, and I know she had several books in her, but never got the opportunity to write them. And I was always saying to her, could you write them down? And, will you, even record them, and we can write them up and stuff like that. And she never did that. She never did it. So in a way, I feel I'm writing it kind of for her, because she was interested in all of this sort of thing too, but a woman of her time, she just wouldn't have been able to do it. So, but it has been my dream, from a little girl. I think the first book I ever had, I was just blown away. Oh my God, look at this. And I have been, yeah, a book collector really for a long time. So it's really, it's such a special thing to see in physical manifestation. It is a little bit like birth. It is a birthing thing. You have all these processes going on, and then suddenly appears this beautiful item. And now the launch is a little bit like the christening. Everybody's going to come.
Exactly.
Labor pains kind of have gone, and that part now is yeah, it really is every bit as special. And there are times when you feel, is this ever going to come together? And then it has, and it does. And yeah, it's yeah, I'm really, really, really happy, and really looking forward to Thursday.
Me too. Me too. Looking forward to having a glass or two of Prosecco with you. And, we were
For
talking
sure.
before we hit record, like you're the first Irish woman to release her book through the Unbound Press. There are a few in the works at the moment.
There are,
You
yeah.
are You are the first. So yeah,
Oh,
that's a
that's
milestone.
special.
It is.
It is special. It is special, and I'm just so glad, Nicola, that you took the chance on me to give me the opportunity to write the book with your your company, because I just always felt so held, felt so supported. At any stage where I was, oh God, feeling that kind of trepidation, somebody was there. If it wasn't it was one of the women in the mastermind. And of course, you at the helm. It's just, yeah, it's so special. And I'm so glad I found you. I think I'll say that in my acknowledgements. Rock on, Unbound.
Rock on. I love it. Oh, Trish, thank you so much for, it's been such a joy to hold space for you. Like I said, cannot wait to meet you in person and yeah, see the magic that Stones in My Bones wants to make in the world. Thank you so much for being in the
Thank
Unbound
you,
Writers
Nicola.
Club today.
Thank you. Sending much love to you, and see you on Thursday. Bye.
Bye.